Salesforce meetup, so thanks for coming. We've got a couple of good demos tonight. I want to thank INFER for sponsoring tonight, and Geekdom for sponsoring, or for providing the space as always. So Rachel works for Geekdom. Tell you a little bit about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I work for Rackspace, which owns Geekdom. Geekdom is a startup co-working space. So we provide memberships for different startups to come in and work from the space. We like to host a lot of meetups here. It's a big thing that we are really proud of, and we are always open to new things coming in. So if you have any questions about Rackspace or Geekdom, I'll be at the front desk all night, and I look forward to seeing you. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Geekdom is definitely a cool place. I work here at Geekdom for my Salesforce ISVs. So I have an app called Charging that's a credit card processing app for Salesforce, and also one called Cloud Amp that does lead attribution in Salesforce. I've been working here for a couple of years, so if you need a desk, it's a pretty fun place to work. This is the second meetup of the day, so Rachel's quite a trooper. Anyway, so we'll just get started. First presenter, INFER, Jamie Grenney, the VP of Marketing for INFER, which is a new predictive scoring application. Looks pretty cool.
Terrific. Well, thank you, David. Thank you to Rackspace. I had a chance to kind of walk around the room a little bit and meet a lot of people here, and it's definitely a diverse audience, from people who are students to people like Radius and Bright Funnel, who are in the predictive space, and then we've got people who are very engaged in the Salesforce community. So all sorts. I want to make sure that we just make this interactive. It's a small enough group here that I want to make sure that it's conversational and you guys get value out of it. So there were some good questions as I was walking around the room, everything from talking about behavioral models to talking about how you compare predictive vendors if you were to get into sort of a competitive evaluation. There are questions about what kinds of signals that we use in our model and are available out there. So hopefully we can touch on those. If I've missed things in this, just stop me and we'll jump into it. So I spent 11 years at Salesforce before joining INFER. And towards the tail end of that experience, I took a sabbatical, and they offered the program, and I said, I don't know if my next employer is gonna have this. So I took 11 weeks off and went and lived in a ski town with my family. But during that time, I also took an opportunity to kind of think about how the industry was changing. And I took this course at the Aspen Institute called Socrates, which is a really neat kind of program where they fill a table of 20 people with people from all different industries. So we had someone from like the DEA, and someone from a mayor's office, and someone from a biotech company, and so on and so forth. And I was the token enterprise software person in the room. And none of us were experts on big data, but we all talked about kind of the implications of what was coming as we were going through this set of readings. And it really is amazing how much information is sort of coming online. I mean, it feels like a lot now, but we feel the impact of things like wearables coming and sensors, and the amounts of data that we're sitting on just continue to grow and grow. So I came back from that experience, and actually, part of my conversation in that room was, I was thinking to myself, I work at Salesforce, and we kind of do some big data stuff. We have lots of API transactions, and we bought a company called Radiant 6 that has this social media fire hose. But the reality was we really weren't taking action on it, or our customers weren't taking action on it. Most of the processes and most of the Salesforce customers, things are done through brute force and human intuition. It's like, okay, we got to manually configure this report to figure out what's going on, or we got to throw more sales reps at this problem to see what's in this pile of leads. So I came back from that experience, and it worked out that I got pinged from a former Salesforce person who said, you got to meet this guy Vic. And so I went down and met Vic, and he was sort of, he had been working on what I was thinking about that spring for the prior 2 years. And I wish I had started the company, but he had a great head start, and he came at it from a different background. Vic was at Google and Microsoft and Yahoo working on search projects, a lot of big data projects. And he took an entrepreneur in residence at Sutter Hill and decided that he was going to figure out how to apply predictive to B2B problems. And so I was really very, very fortunate to connect with Vic and join INFER about 18 months ago. So at that point we were 7 employees. We're about 40 employees now. You know, about the last 18 months has really been about, okay, we think that we've got a product that delivers value. Let's see if we can scale it to lots and lots of customers. And we hit a big milestone in December. We received our $25 million Series B financing. So hopefully we can kind of pour some gas on this and keep going. So once again, the first mission is really to help companies grow with the power of data science. This vision has been out of reach for the average company, and we're going to try to democratize it in the same way as Salesforce democratized cloud computing. There are lots of visible examples of predictive that we all use every day. You know, when you think about Netflix recommending movies or Google recommending the right ad or the right search results, this has really been done for quite some time. When I was on my way over here, you know, on Uber, you think about how predictive their app is becoming. I mean, you enter in, like, they know where you are, they have a good guess about where you're going to go based on past behavior, they know traffic patterns, they can give you an estimate of how much it's going to cost. I mean, they're pulling a ton of data together and doing these computations on the back end to understand, you know, who's the right driver to send to you. That type of power really hasn't made its way into B2B environments, and you know, the central challenge is it's hard to connect all of these information sources. You need a data scientist, you need a team of data experts to go out and get a whole bunch of external data. So if we think about sort of the path that typical companies are taking, you know, it was all about group contact management, just getting your contacts into the cloud and having your company able to use those. And then it was about Salesforce automation, so thinking about how you automate your pipeline, you know, get visibility into your sales forecast. And then the last couple of years it's been about marketing automation. So from a marketing automation perspective, there's lots of activity that's taking place on your website and through your email channels. Can you apply automation to that? But really, you know, marketing automation has been great for collecting data, but once again, there's still a whole lot of brute force and intuition there. You know, we're still marketing to lots and lots of contacts who are never going to buy our product. We really still can't predict. And so that's what we think this level 4 is. Now there's a level above that, which is having that team of internal data scientists. And we see that sometimes, like, you know, Optimizely is one of our customers, and when we went in there, they had already built a model, they were already doing predictive inside Optimizely. But they're great ways that, you know, we ultimately, you know, forged a partnership and are working with them, wherein, you know, their data scientists can still do projects. You know, they can still find new data sources, they can still take the predictive scores that we're using, but we've really helped them operationalize that and you know, launch a number of different models for their organization so they can scale. So let me take you through the model build process. The whole process for building a predictive model is pretty quick. You know, from the time that you say you want to do it to the time that you do your model review is usually less than, you know, 10 days. It can be done faster. It certainly can be done faster, but the process generally is you get access to Salesforce, or Infer gets access to Salesforce. We take a look at where you've had success in the past. So we look at your converted leads versus your archived leads, your wins versus losses, your opportunity amount, that type of information. Generally, we don't grab a ton of information out of Salesforce because we do understand that a lot of companies have concern about dirty data. And so we complement it, I'll talk about in a second here, we complement it with a lot of our own data. We also look at the data inside the marketing automation systems. So that could be Eloqua, it could be Marketo, it could be Pardot, HubSpot. That's definitely very valuable activity data that we can harness in the models. And then finally, the last piece, or the second to last piece, is we've got this library of our own signals. So part of our sort of Google DNA, where that comes into play, is we are really vicious about acquiring data. We go through and we crawl websites, so we will parse a website kind of the same way as a sales rep parses it, but we'll do it at scale. So we'll go to a website and we'll figure out, you know, is this a B2B company or a B2C company? Do they sell domestically, or do they have global operations? We'll go through and say, you know, how do they sell? Do they have a free trial? You know, is it an e-commerce site? We'll go through and, you know, look at their careers page and say, are they hiring? So we'll parse the website and get a whole bunch of information. We also get information from going through public filings. We'll look at things like, you know, when the company was first trademarked. We'll look at all sorts of public data. And then where we can, we also acquire data. And so we will acquire data from multiple sources. So like employee count as an example, it's okay if we, you know, redundancy is good in our case. If we can get employee count from 3 different vendors, we can triangulate which one is probably right. So we try to be really, really vicious about the data that we acquire. And then the last piece of it is just deep data science. We've got a fantastic team. On the engineering side, 60% of our engineers have PhDs or dropped out of PhD programs. So a really, really high bar for engineering talent that is building these models. But all of this kind of goes into the model, and one of the key messages is that every model is personalized to that given company. So we want to make sure that we are understanding kind of what that company wants to predict within their business. We want to understand what does their ideal customer look like. But once we have this model in place, what we'll do is we will look across all of their existing contacts and leads within Salesforce. We can also look at any new leads that are coming in. So these could be leads that are coming in off the website, they could be list buys, any number of things. But really, our goal is to help companies understand what does a good customer look like. That central question that every company needs to answer. And so we'll go through and we'll score all of their prospects as they come in. And this visibility, just having a stack ranked in terms of which ones are good and which ones are bad, gives marketers instant insight into their campaigns. They can tell right away, what is the quality of this list, or what is the quality of this Twitter advertising campaign. They've got that instant insight. And from a sales perspective, it's really about prioritizing, where you've got the best shot at winning. So from a sales perspective, you want your reps working from the very top of the list and working their way down. What we see is I'll speak to it in just a second. So this is the approach being taken by a lot of companies in the Bay Area. Here are some of the companies that are local and we work with. Zendesk, as an example, 95% of their closed-won opportunities can be identified after that initial form fill. So even though Zendesk has just a little bit of information about that prospect, we can go kind of add thousands of columns to the spreadsheet, if you will, with that external data, and we can determine whether or not it's worth sending to sales or whether it should go down the nurture path. ZipRecruiter is another good example. There's a great kind of ROI study. They were able to pay for the product in the first 45 days, and they were able to increase their conversion by 4x and their average deal size by 3x. And they were able to do that because their reps knew of all of this noise, here's where I should focus my time. And so they were really, really doubling down on what was worth following up with. So this shows kind of performance across all of our customers. So this bar here is the closed won, or the revenue, and this is the conversion rate. And so you can think about this as we built a model for all of our customers. We stack rank their very best opportunities and leads on the right side, and their worst ones on the left side. And you can see this strong up and to the right across all of our customers. And so for this here, you can see that if you're focusing on these, or even your first kind of 30%, your top 30%, this is the vast majority of your business. And while there might be some value here, you don't want to totally neglect this part of your business, you really want to understand, how do I get more of this? And really prioritize your sales and marketing efforts towards getting more of that dark green there. So oftentimes what we'll do with customers, which is kind of similar to this chart here, is we will plot their activity, their current activity, like the phone calls and emails being logged by reps. We'll plot that on this same chart here. And typically what you see is before Infer, it's very peanut butter. It's like, hey, we're following up with every lead. We don't really know which ones are good, so we've got to make sure that no stone gets left unturned. And then after Infer, what we see is this shift in behavior where the tasks and activities take this same type of curve. And so that dead weight that was over here gets shifted to this side of the chart. So across our customers, we're doing about 30 million predictions a month. So for us, a prediction is a customer coming to us and saying, is this a good prospect? Is this a good company? And we're going back and say yes or no. So it's a very, very highly automated, highly scalable system. The easiest way to think about it is lead scoring that works, but there are a lot of use cases. And really the value comes into play with how are you going to apply that score within your business. And so filtering and prioritization are the first two. So filter out the bad leads on the front end, make sure that reps aren't following up with spam or things that aren't going to convert, and then prioritize their efforts. But you can start to think about how marketers will think about campaigns differently. It's no longer about how many leads that you generate, it's how many good leads. And it's no longer your cost per lead, but it's cost per good lead. Routing and SLAs, you need to make sure that you configure that right in Salesforce to take advantage of these scores. Nurture, there's a lot of, everyone knows that they've got gold in their nurture database, but it's like, how do I surface it at the right time to my reps? Lead lists, we have customers that will write 48-hour out clauses into their list buys. So they will buy that list, they'll run it through Infer. If it's a bad list, they'll say, sorry, it just doesn't make sense for us to do business. But if it's a good list, this is going to be a fruitful relationship. Events, we have this thing when we do our trade show booths where people walk up to our booth, they enter their email address in, and it scores them real time. And we say, this is why you're a good prospect for us. And those customers, we will go deep and have longer conversations. And the customers where it's not as good, we quickly say, hey, these are the reasons. Unfortunately, you're not a fit. We want to be upfront with you. But we appreciate you stopping by. We don't want to waste your time either.
I'm sorry, can we go back to the last slide again? Yes. What was the x-axis? That was all very good stuff.
What's the x-axis?
The x-axis here, these are stacked ranks. Just picture this as stacked rank leads. This is your top 10%, 20%, 30% on down the line. So this is just a stack rank of like, if you took every lead in the database, divided them evenly through these deciles, this one here has all of the revenue. Does that make sense?
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So that's it. I can quickly jump in and show you a demo. The demo itself is so once again, to kind of give you a sense of how we do it, we do the kickoff meeting. So what we'll typically do is, that week-long period where we will get Salesforce access, we'll come back, we'll build a model and come back and present the results. During that period, we're not charging the customer to build that model. That model is something that we want to prove the value up front and make sure that the customer is confident in our ability to predict winners. But what we'll do is we'll come back with all of the signals that are in the model. And so this is just an example of a typical model, the various signals. Our typical models will include anywhere from probably 200 to 300 signals in the model. We start with thousands of signals, and then we say for that company, which are the 200 to 300 that are statistically significant. And the machine learning does a lot of kind of interesting stuff on determining breakpoints. And so for example, like employee count is bigger than this and less than this. But it totally comes back and it's kind of come up with the optimal weighting. And we have a data science kind of, once again, check this before and after we release it or after we get done with the model build to make sure that there are no leaky signals and things like that, that it is in fact accurate. So once again, there are all sorts of things. Some of these signals, actually this might help to see, some of these signals are about company reputation, firmographics, geography, spam, the title of the individual, that was coming forward. Some of them are web crawl, web presence, like how much web traffic they get, what technology vendors they use. So there are all sorts of different signals, and you can kind of go through and understand which ones are most relevant to your customer. So that's kind of the first step of the process, and it's kind of enlightening to companies to understand what are the commonalities between their prospects and customers.
What's your error rate on some of those numbers? It's like an average error rate for all that much data.
Yeah, so the process that we use to check the accuracy of the model is one called historical backtesting. So what we'll do is we will take a slice of data with known outcomes, and we'll break it into two sets, a training set and a test set. The training set is used to build the model. The test set is one that is set aside, and we can't see the results. And so we will build the model off that training set, and then we will push these, the test set through, and we'll come back and we'll say, we think that these are the good ones and these are the bad ones. And then we will look at the results and compare it and say, okay, the model did a pretty good job. So, oh shoot.
Like a standard machine learning kind of thing.
Yes, a standard machine learning process. I might have to quickly get online here to get this down. Sorry, I should have had all these tabs open. Yeah, I can probably just do this on my phone.
There's a Wi-Fi in the room if you want.
I might, well, we could do that, or let's just see if it's faster to do it through my phone. So in any event, that's kind of the most important thing, is to make sure that you come out of that initial model review meeting with confidence that it's able to accurately predict winners. Because if you don't have that confidence, then it's very, very hard to sell it internally and change processes and so on. I might need some Wi-Fi help. This is not. Here we go. This is the best part of the demo.
Capital S, I, capital S, H, E.
All right, so I'll kind of keep talking here as this connects.
I think the lowercase s the first one.
Yeah.
The second one is a capital.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to skip over this for a second, and we'll come back and see if this loads because the other tabs are open. So, all right, so inside of Salesforce, it's really very, very simple. So once you've got faith that the model is good and you've set your breakpoints inside Infer, and this is the visualization that hopefully will come up that shows how we set breakpoints. Then really inside Salesforce is very simple. It's an app exchange package that you install. That app exchange package adds some custom fields inside of Salesforce. We can also do the same with Marketo and other applications if you want to insert the score there. And so when a new lead comes in, it's just going to have a simple score in that custom field that people can use for their list views, their routing rules. They can use it inside their dashboards. So I apologize about. Okay, well, here's the visualization of the model. It's kind of hard to see on this screen here, but basically these are all. This is the stack rank leads once again. And what you want to see is just like defragging a hard drive. You want to see a concentration of green on one side and a concentration of gray on the other side there. And so you can see that sometimes you have a couple deals that kind of slipped through the cracks, if you will, or did not look like your normal customers, but the vast majority of it should be green on this side here. And what you do is you kind of set your breakpoints, and each breakpoint, looks like we're just going to go with ABC for the purposes of this. You can see that in this case, without adjusting these sliders, this isn't cooperating, this section right here comprises 57% of your converted leads. It's 20% of your overall leads, but 57% of your converted leads. They convert 2.8x as often, 66% of the one amount, and 12% of higher on the average one amount. So this is the type of exercise that the companies do to set those ABC thresholds, and then they can insert that into Salesforce. So why don't I pause a second, see if there are questions. Yep.
A strange question, but how do you differentiate between returning sales versus initial sales?
Okay, so the question is, how do you differentiate between returning sales and initial sales? So there are different types of models that we build. And so there's one type of model that we'll build for the team that is working inbound leads, essentially, because they have a pretty consistent behavior. And then there's a different type of a model that we might build for an outbound sales team, which is prospecting into accounts, because the outcomes we're looking for are different. So for an inbound sales team, we're looking for, did the lead go from lead to opportunity? For an outbound sales team, it's already starting as an account, And so we're basically looking at which accounts were worked by outbound reps and turned into opportunities. So those two models are going to be a little bit different, but fundamentally they're usually looking for the same types of signals, because you're saying, does this look like a good customer for us? We do have another type of a model that customers use. New Relic as one example, which is a behavioral model. And so when you think about good lead scoring, it might make sense to bounce out to this slide. Put this one in just in case this question came up. But when you think about good lead scoring, there are two ways to spot a lead. One is fit, and the other is behavior. And so fit is all of those things like employee count, geography, industry, and behavior is what actions did that individual take. Across all of our customers, we encourage them to have a fit-first approach, whether it's for inbound sales or prioritizing their outbound efforts. A fit-first approach is important, because if someone is not a fit to buy your product, it doesn't matter how engaged they are on the behavioral side, they're never going to buy it. And so that's usually the starting point, the place that we can get the most leverage. On the behavioral side, we also have behavioral scoring. And so the trick with behavioral scoring, there's behavioral scoring in marketing automation. The challenge there generally is that someone has manually defined the rules. They've said, such and such title is worth 10 points, or email click here is worth 5 points. Also, when they set up that scoring just to reduce complexity, it's usually additive. It's like somebody did this and this and this and this, and over time they get kind of stronger and stronger. What we're doing is we're sucking the data out of the marketing automation apps, applying data science, and we're coming back and thinking about things like the decay of activity, the concentration of activity, what types of activity they're taking. And our goal with behavioral scoring is to figure out which prospects are likely to convert in the next 14 days. We can adjust that time period for different businesses, but those two things together give us a grid that looks something like this. So in the top, in the top right corner on your side, an A4, in that situation, they're both a good fit to buy your product and they're actively engaged. And then, an A1, in that situation, they might not be actively engaged, but they look like a great customer, so it might be worth putting a little extra effort into it. All right, there are a couple hands, so. Yep.
Jamie, do you guys do anything now in regards to high-risk accounts for downgrades or predictive analysis for that?
Yeah, we have not gotten into the customer success end of things, if you will. The reason we haven't is because we're trying to focus we're trying to be very focused as a company, and we tried to focus in on what we thought was the highest value opportunity. The tricky thing about doing things like that is that every company handles it differently. So like how you track customer success, sometimes it's done in like custom fields, custom objects. Information in your billing system and application might be far more important. So we don't do a lot of that. Now there's some situations where people will take application usage data and push them into our model, but we don't attack that end of things. One other interesting thing, there's a company called MindFlash that did a correlation between their INFER score and their Net Promoter Score, and they found out that something like 95% of their Net Promoters were their A leads. And it makes total sense. Like if someone is a good fit to buy your product, they're probably going to get a lot of value out of your product. And if it was something the sales team crammed through, chances are they're eventually going to attrit or be a detractor. So that's changed their perspective from a marketing and sales and product organization. Yep.
I'm sorry. Preemptive and recurring revenue.
Yep.
Now, let's go back. What about old school, like Sam Walton? Remember, like Sam Walton? He said, "Smile at everybody because before they die, they're gonna spend $100,000 or $200,000 at Walmart."
Yeah.
How are you converting that into the digital?
So yeah, I don't know that we've tackled that directly. I mean, I think well, back to this, to some degree, the D1s, they might be people that you just have a different program. Like your marketing team might say, these people are like fanboys. They're like, they're very, or sorry, D4s. They're very engaged with our website for some reason. We don't know exactly why. And maybe we kind of show them love because they're people who are evangelists for the brand. So I think that might be one way, but it's more, on the customer to figure out the right program. Does that work?
I got you, sorry.
Yeah.
So the customers that you've attained, have they come off of some based lead scoring and now they're moving to predictive, or you find that they're not doing any lead scoring at all and you want to get this kind of filtering level with them? Or
Yeah,
mix?
almost all of them use a marketing automation platform and have experimented with some amount of lead scoring. I mean, I don't know, you see it run the gamut. Sometimes they've experimented and it's failed, sometimes they haven't tried, and sometimes they're using it, but it's just like, it's okay, and they want to complement that score with a fit score. And so you see all sorts of flavors of that. Yep. David?
Do you update the score over time to, like a customer's product's kind of evolving or their market is changing?
Yeah, so the question is, do we update scores over time, or really do we update the model over time? They're two things. We do update the scores anytime there's new information available. So it could be a sales rep entering a new field in Salesforce. It could be us crawling the website and there's new information available, so we update the score. Kind of the second question is, how often do we update the models? And there are two schools of thought. One is that you should, let the machines automatically update the models all the time and always tune them. The tricky thing about that is that you'll get into situations where someone will load a lead list or they will do a campaign and it will really change the way the data looks in a pretty big way, but it's not really a material change in your business. So what we like to do is we like to look at drift in the model. So if we told you that your A leads are going to convert 3x your average, then if we see that go down to 2.9, 2.8, then at that point it's like, wait, something has changed in the business. We need to do a model rebuild. And that process is a pretty quick process, but we do go through the same steps of, we want to make sure that we take a step back, ask the customer questions saying, has something changed in your business? Do you know of something that we should be aware of? We will rerun the model and we will try to create a model that performs better than the prior one. We definitely, with all of our customers, we do regular model rebuilds because we're always adding new signals, and if new signals are beneficial, we'll work those in. So that hopefully answers the question. In the back?
So like you're doing the scoring analysis at the lead level and that's directly between leading opportunity. In a lot of cases, you have 100 lead percent company, you have one deal. What do you do with the other 99 leads?
So we can score any objects. So you can score leads, accounts, opportunities. We can score all of that. So I might have missed your question a little bit.
Oh, well, I was saying that if we score do the math at the lead level, we rank which one's good, which one's bad.
Yeah.
And if you have 100 leads for the same company and only one typically opportunity create for one, and that opportunity will only associate with one lead. Not all 100 leads, right? So what happens if you get 99 leads? How do we rank them?
So I think in that case, if you're talking about a fit score, most of those leads will rank almost the same because they work for the same company. There's going to be some variation based upon job title and who that individual is within the organization. So there's some variance there. But generally speaking, they're going to all look the same. It might be that the behavior score of those 100 leads under that one account and that one opportunity, the behavior is very different. It might be very clear that these 3 people are researching and these people have no interest in the initiative. So I think that those are a couple ways to tease that out. Yep.
So you're taking more of an account-based view than a lead-specific view?
So in most cases, are we taking more of a... So a lot of our signals are more around the account than the individual. An account, if you think about a company, they've got a public website, lots of pages to crawl, they have public filings. There's a much bigger footprint versus the individual. And the individual can sometimes be a little bit misleading because that individual might have had an assistant kind of research this project or whatever it might be. So generally speaking, most of the signals are about the account versus the individual. And usually a sales rep, if they know this is the right account to focus on, and maybe they can see some behavioral signals to prioritize the contacts, but generally they can zero in and say, if this is the right account, this is the job title I'm going to start with, and go from there. Yep.
Yeah, so are you sort of like inferring that a net promoter score can be just as accurate as the model, based on that correlation you're talking about? So for example, if a company was just to use your net promoter score, they can get results like this?
Yeah, I was saying that the INFER score is highly correlated with the net promoter score, because what we're trying to do with the INFER score is understand what does a good customer look like. It could be, you could have a scenario where it looks like a good customer, but they're upset for some reason. So they're not always going to be correlated. Yep.
Sorry, I agree with you. Because I bought some stuff that I haven't been happy with.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with, some stuff, why did I even buy
But you're a good
this?
customer for them. Yeah.
So there's no way of keeping them,
Yep. Yep.
I agree with you on that one, sorry.
Yep. All right.
Well, thank you very much, Dan.
Well, thank you all for having me.